Hello. With our last episode of Born a Crime, we're exploring a powerful and deeply personal story. It follows the life of a woman named Patricia and will trace her journey step by step to see how her experiences shaped the person she became. This is Patricia, and her personality shines through from the very beginning. She was confident, quick-witted, and full of life, with a sharp sense of humor that made everyone around her smile. She especially loved teasing her son, who affectionately called her the Queen, and it wasn't hard to see why. The story begins with a simple problem. Patricia's car kept breaking down, so she started looking for a mechanic she could trust. That search led her to a garage called Mighty Mechanics, where she met a man named Abel. To everyone else, Abel seemed like the perfect man. He was charming, generous, and always willing to help, earning the admiration of everyone around him. But even as a child, the narrator sensed that something wasn't right. While others saw a kind and dependable man, he couldn't shake the feeling that there was another side to Abel that no one else seemed to notice. The narrator's instinct seemed even more striking in hindsight. Most people knew him as Abel, his English name, but his traditional Tsonga name was Ingisaveni, which translates to be afraid. Whether it was coincidence or not, the meaning of that name took on a haunting significance as the story unfolded. When his mother told him she was going to marry Abel, his reaction was immediate. Even as a child, he felt a strong sense that something was wrong. It wasn't about jealousy or resisting the idea of a new father. It was an instinctive warning that he couldn't explain but couldn't ignore. After they got married, Abel's behavior gradually began to change. The charm that had once attracted people faded, and his need for control became more noticeable. Over time, he slowly began taking away the independence Patricia had worked so hard to build for herself. At first, the changes seemed small. Abel insisted that the dogs sleep outside instead of in the house. But over time, his behavior became more controlling. He refused to repair Patricia's car, making her depend on him for transportation. He tried to limit how often she went to church and discouraged her from visiting the narrator's father. One by one, these restrictions took away her independence, leaving her feeling increasingly isolated. Patricia understood what was happening. She realized that Abel hadn't admired her independence because he wanted to support it. Instead, she believed he wanted to control it. She saw that each new restriction was part of an effort to limit her freedom and make her increasingly dependent on him. The situation soon became a financial struggle as well. Wanting to support her husband, Patricia invested her life savings to help Abel buy an auto repair shop. But the business failed, leaving the family without the stability they once had. They lost their home and were forced to live in the garage itself, where the conditions were cold, uncomfortable, and difficult. Patricia refused to give up. She found a new job and worked to rebuild a stable life, even securing a new home for the family. But as she became more independent, Abel's drinking and resentment grew worse. The tension that had been building for years was reaching a breaking point. The situation eventually turned violent. One night, after coming home heavily intoxicated, Abel's behavior became dangerously reckless. Patricia called her mother for support, but when she stood up to him after he interrupted the call, he physically assaulted her. It was a devastating moment that marked a turning point in their relationship. After the assault, Patricia went to the police hoping they would protect her. Instead, her concerns were dismissed. When Abel arrived, the officers treated the incident as a private family matter and encouraged them to go home rather than taking formal action. No charges were filed, leaving Patricia without the support she had sought. Eventually, the violence extended to her son. During one frightening incident, Abel trapped him in a small room and physically attacked him. The boy managed to escape and ran from the house, but the fear stayed with him long afterward. Not long after, he made the difficult decision to move out, hoping to find safety away from the violence. Several years later, Patricia finally left Abel and began rebuilding her life, but the danger had not disappeared. One Sunday, after returning home from church, she found him waiting for her. In that moment, the years of fear and abuse reached a devastating and life-changing climax. Abel confronted Patricia and her family with a gun, making it clear that he intended to harm them. As the family froze in fear, her other son, Andrew, courageously stepped in to protect his mother. Abel threatened him as well, forcing everyone into a terrifying situation where every second mattered. Abel fired, and the first shot struck Patricia, causing her to collapse. He then stood over her and pointed the gun at her head, attempting to fire again, but the weapon failed repeatedly. Several attempts to pull the trigger resulted in misfires, giving Patricia a chance to survive what appeared to be certain death. In the brief moment created by the misfires, Patricia and Andrew managed to get into the car and drive away, but as they fled, Abel fired once more. This time, the shot struck Patricia from behind, turning their desperate escape into a race to get her life-saving medical care. Against all odds, Patricia survived. But what followed in the aftermath of the attack revealed just as much about her strength as the violence itself. In the face of unimaginable trauma, she showed a level of resilience that would come to define her story. Doctors later described her survival as a miracle. The bullet entered the back of her head but somehow missed her brain, spinal cord, and major blood vessels. Instead, it shattered part of her facial bone and exited through her nose. Incredibly, she survived and did not require major reconstructive surgery. At the hospital, another crisis emerged. Patricia had recently canceled her health insurance, and the medical staff warned her family that the treatment could be extremely expensive, potentially creating long-term financial debt. Faced with an impossible situation, her son chose to prioritize her life and agreed to proceed with her care. As for Abel, the consequences were surprisingly limited. Because no charges had been filed during years of earlier abuse, he had no prior criminal record on paper. He ultimately pleaded guilty to attempted murder and received 3 years of probation with no prison sentence served. In the hospital, Patricia lay bandaged and recovering, while her son sat beside her in tears. Trying to comfort him, she told him to look for the bright side. Confused and overwhelmed, he asked what possible bright side there could be after everything they had been through. Despite it all, she managed a small smile. The story leaves us with a final question. After surviving years of control, hardship, and violence that culminated in her being shot, Patricia still found a way to comfort her son with humor and hope. It raises a deeper reflection about resilience and what inner strength allows someone to respond to unimaginable suffering with compassion rather than despair. Born a Crime ultimately shows how humor, love, and resilience can survive even in the harshest systems of inequality and control. Thank you for watching this video. Hopefully it helped you understand just how powerful and complex Trevor Noah's story really is.
If you'd like more personalized feedback, writing support, and discussion sessions, they're available with me or with our selected tutors. All the details are here.